Hi and welcome back. In our last video we went ahead and set up the image gallery with the lightbox effect on our About page. In this video we're going to move on to the contact page and we're going to set up a very simple contact form. And here I am in my site. I'm going to go ahead and open up contact.html here. And if I look at this in design view, I've actually gone ahead of time and deleted some of the filler content that was included with the template. So go ahead and delete some of the paragraphs of text and the images that are there. And specifically what you need to do is you need to have a space between a couple of paragraphs of text wherever you want your form to appear. And when I go into the code view here, you can see there's that space. And I just need some open space in between that paragraph there and that paragraph there. Now again, if you have the framework, I have this code ready for you inside of the framework. If not, you can go ahead and you're going to see the code and you'll be able to type in all the information. But I'm going to minimize Expression Web, and I already have that folder open, but you'll see there's my framework folder. I'll open that up. Open my main folder up again. We've been here quite a few times to go into CSS and HTML and JavaScript, but this time we're going into the Forms folder. Let's go into Forms, and I'm going to go ahead and use this simple feedback form right here. And you can take a look at the other forms that are here and the other information that are here. You may want to use the contact form if you need the address and zip code and all that good sort of stuff. But I'm just going to go ahead and right click on my feedback form here and say edit with Expression Web. And that'll bring this up, and when I look at this in design view you can see the form. Don't worry about the styling at all right now. You can see I've got a name field, telephone, email, comment, and then a submit button. And what we want to go ahead and do here is come into our form code, and we want to highlight all this information right here. And this is going to be the information if you don't have the form already in the framework, you'll just be able to type this information in. And I'll right click and copy it, go into the contact page, and I'm going to paste that right onto that open line. And actually I'm going to go ahead and tab this over just to keep everything nice and neat. And we'll save that. And let's take a look at this in design view and you'll see what we've got. There is our form. Now we still need to do a little bit of formatting on it, but you can see what we basically have going here. Now I'm going to close the feedback.html page because we're done with that. But I'm going to go into my CSS folder and open styles.css because we need to now go in here and set this up. Now the reason for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here is that forms are typically laid out using lists. And this is very similar to setting up navigation menus with lists of information. You saw that when we did the top nav and some other elements, how we used an unordered list and the various list elements to indicate different items in that specific section of our website. Well, just as you use ULs for navigation, oftentimes you're going to use OLs. It's very common to use ordered lists to lay out forms on your page. Now, I want to be able to specifically target this form and format it in my CSS. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to enclose this form in a new div. And I'm going to call that new div contact-form. And I need to close my div. It put my closing div right there. I'm just going to drag that down into that space. And so you can now see how this form is enclosed in another div called contact form. so I can specifically target this OL if I want to. And that way it doesn't affect any other ordered lists that might be on the page. Now let's go ahead and go into styles.css, and I'm going to scroll down, and near the bottom of your style sheet, after all of your containers, you're going to see a section for forms. And again, if you had the framework, you already have this code available to you. If not, you're going to need to type this information in. None of this is too terribly complicated. You can see that most of these are simple tag styles that use property value statements that we're already familiar with, such as the text align property, the margin property, the padding property, the display property, so on and so forth. And as I scroll down here a little bit more, you can see the rest of the code that's in this particular layout. The one that I'm not going to actually need is this final one here, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And I'm going to hit enter just to move myself down so you can see this just a little bit better. Now, first thing we want to go ahead and do is we want to remove the numbers here from this style, or from this list of information. So I'm going to come in here to my style sheet, and I'm going to go ahead and do contact dash form OL. So I'm targeting ordered lists inside of my contact form div. And the property value statement that I'm going to use is going to be list style type none. And that's going to remove the number from the list. And let's go ahead and save that, and let's look at our contact form, and sure enough, they've disappeared. Now, this looks like it's a mess right now. But let's go ahead and see how it's going to look in a browser. Because remember, Expression Web's design view doesn't always give you an accurate representation of the way things are going to look. So let's go ahead and open this up in Chrome. And you can see here in the browser, everything is nicely lined up and positioned just exactly the way we want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and try this in a couple other browsers. I actually just look at it in Internet Explorer here. And you can again see that the form is set up nicely. So you really can't trust Design View, either in Dreamweaver or Expression Web, to show you the way your pages are going to look. Just think of Design View as a courtesy to help you do things like edit text and things like that. But as far as layout goes, you won't be able to do anything meaningful in Design View. That's the reason why we've been doing everything in Code View. It gives us very exact control. Now, next thing that I want to do, I just want to do a couple other things here, is I want to go ahead and give myself a little bit of padding around these individual fields here. You can see if I type in a name here, well, that's the border is right up against the content. And remember your box model properties. It goes the object, then the padding, then the border, then the margin. Well, we can see the border right here. So if we want some space in between the object or the content in the object and the border, we're going to use the padding property. So let's go ahead and close that out here. I'm going to go into my CSS. And I'm going to scroll. Actually, let's go into our HTML here. And I want you to look at your form code. And specifically, I want you to note that we have input text here, input text, and then text area right here. So we have two different tags with an attribute, or two different tags here, input and text area. Also notice the type here is text for these. We need to go ahead, we need to format the inputs and the text areas with a little bit of padding. So I'm going to go into my styles. I'm going to scroll up, and there's the style for input and text area. You see this is a grouped selector. We're applying all of these properties, the border in this case, to both the input fields and the text area fields. And all I want to do is go ahead and do padding 5 pixels. We'll save that, and let's go ahead and preview our HTML in a browser. And you can now see that I have a little bit more space inside of my field. So now when I type in John Smith, it looks a lot better. But now our labels are positioned up a little bit too high. And again, looking at this code, you can see every element has both a field that you type into as well as a label on it. So what we need to do is we need to push that label down a little bit in our CSS. So I'm going to come in here to my styles, and there's the label style. And I'm going to go ahead and do margin dash top 5 pixels. And let's see how that's going to look inside of a browser. And sure enough, it moved it down there, so it's now a little bit better positioned. And we could do the same thing with the submit button. We should push that over a little bit to the left or to the right. Center it if we wanted to. We could use the width and the height properties to change any of these to make them larger or smaller. You're just using your width, height, margin, and padding properties to set up this form. Now, once you have your form set up and working, the next thing you need to be able to do is you need to be able to actually click the button and submit the form. And this requires a script. And there are quite a few of these scripts out there that will take a form and convert it into an email. Now, the type of script that you're going to use is going to depend on the server that you're going to use. If you're using a Windows server, you're going to be using an ASP script. Most people, though, aren't on Windows servers. And again, this is your server, not your computer. Your server is more than likely a Linux server with PHP on it. So in that case, you're going to need a PHP or a Perl script. Now, some web hosts require that you use their script to process forms that are on their server. So you can check with your web host and see if they have a script that they want you to use. Different servers are set up differently, so not all scripts will work on all servers. I have a very general script that works on many servers, but not all. But again, if it doesn't work, you can go ahead and contact your web host. I'm going to go ahead and close that out and minimize Expression Web. And I'm still here in my framework. If not, just open it on up and go into Framework. And this time you're going to see a PHP folder here. I'm going to double click on that, right click on this mail form PHP here and copy it. And then I'm going to go ahead and go into my site folder. This is the working copy of my site. And I need to go ahead and create a new folder and call it PHP. And then I'm going to go ahead and go into that folder and paste that mail form in there. And this is going to be the script that's going to convert the form information into an email for you. So now I'm going to close that and come back into Expression Web. I'm in the code for my contact form, and you're going to see the very first line here says form name, and you can give this a name if you want. I just called it feedback. Method post, and then we have action, and there's just a double quotation mark there. The action attribute points to the script that processes the form and sends it to you. And we're going to go ahead and highlight that just like that. We're going to go ahead and do the pick URL just like we've done before. Go into our PHP folder and select mail form. I got to close my quotation marks. And now, once you've published this actually to a server, if the server will work with your mail form script, it will actually send you an email with the contents of this form when you go ahead and click on submit. But again, the exact settings for your server and the exact way you publish to your server depends on the server that you're using and the web host that you're using. So you may need to check with the tech support that they offer to find out if they have a script or if they allow you to use third-party scripts or scripts that come with templates with your account. So that's all there is to setting up a simple contact form inside of Expression Web. And I hope you've enjoyed going through this series. So far, we've accomplished quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and preview our index.html. And I'm going to go and open it up in a browser here. And you can see our home page, our about page with our lightbox, and our contact page with our contact form on it. And this is the last opening video that I'm going to do for this Introduction to Expression Web series. There may in fact be several videos after that, because as I get questions or add new features to this template, I may do additional videos. So if you're watching this right now and this is the last video in the series, congratulations. You've made it to the very end. If not, go ahead and proceed on to the following videos and take a look at and see what they offer. You will also see different projects being added to the channel, to the site, on different topics for Expression Web as time goes on. So you may want to go ahead and take a look and check those out, or go to my website and check out the resources that I have there. Thanks for watching.